one of the other things that's been cleaned up, unfortunately, is the U.S. stockpile of global interceptor missiles. And what do I mean by this? I'm talking about the air defense. And this is the air defense that the United States used up during, and by the way, I'm not talking about Israel's air defense or anyone else. I'm talking about the United States air defense, right? So these global interceptor missiles. And when the 12-day war was going on, this was something that Human Events Daily and others told you was very, very important because these missiles are extremely expensive and very hard to replace, and we don't have a lot of them. So, according to Military Watch magazine, there's an estimate that between 60 and 80 interceptors were utilized during the conflict. This is Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, the THAAD missiles. They're operated by U.S. Army. So because of this, each one, according to this estimate, cost between $12 to $15 million, meaning the cost of those interceptors used sits between $810 million on the low end, and at the high end, cost $1.2 billion. The U.S. Army has 7 THAAD systems set up in 5 air defense regiments, with an 8th set to be operational by the end of this year. Wall Street Journal reported earlier in June that the United States had restocked the THAAD system set up in Israel in 2024. So this is a situation where I think that those of us who have been skeptical of the United States getting involved into wider conflicts, this is exactly what we were talking about. We were saying that as conservatives, look, we don't always want, I should say this, as conservatives, we live in reality. So in reality, we understand that there are definite limits and concrete truths that we have to focus on. And one of those limits in reality is scarcity. And the understanding of scarcity means that we don't live in an unlimited world. And as it turns out, boys and girls, we don't have unlimited ammo for our air defense. Nobody does. Iran doesn't. Israel doesn't. The United States doesn't. And when the United States splits its air defense away from places like Ukraine, away from places like Israel, away from places like South Korea, and areas where they could be helped with, or Taiwan, from that theater, right? These are all things that affect the force and affect our own national security. So that's $800 million to $1 billion that's now gone. All right, it's up in the skies over Israel. And understand that one of the pieces here that a lot of people need to talk about is this is where the military-industrial complex argument comes in. They say, well, we love this because, look, every time there's a war, boom, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. If you're Raytheon, if you're one of the companies that funds these things, oh my gosh, you love it. If you're going up against the Houthis, when the Houthis are shooting at you and you got to fire off some of those from the U.S. Navy, those SM-2, those SM-3, the SM-6s, the air defense missiles, they love it because that means that every time they're fired, the United States government has to buy more to backfill the ones that were spent, to backfill the ordnance. And these are extremely expensive. This, by the way, is something that our adversaries know very well. So for Iran, for China, for Russia, they understand that if we can't beat U.S. technology in a one-to-one scenario, well, maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can just overwhelm it because they don't have so many. We don't have as many of these things as we'd like to have. We don't have an unlimited amount. But you know what they can create? An unlimited amount of rockets, an unlimited amount of dumb-fired missiles. And so, when you look at a report like this, it's understanding. Look, folks, we live in the real world. And when President Trump says that he stands for diplomacy, when President Trump says that he stands for peace in the world, and he's not afraid to use military power, certainly far from it, but he also understands that all of these things come at a cost to the United States, a cost to inflation, a cost to our global security, and a cost to our national security. So when those of us come out and say, wait a minute, we can do the math on this and we can understand how much these things are costing and how much these systems cost the American taxpayer, as well as reduce our military readiness. And for people to come out and start screaming, well, you're just an isolationist. And Mitch McConnell, you're just an isolationist. You're just an isolationist. I was like, Mitch, go back in your little turtle shell, Everything will be fine. We will take care of the country for you. We can solve these problems. And in fact, it seems like your generation, you super senior Mitch McConnell, are the ones who seem to have created most of the problems rather than solving them.